Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady. Hello all. So, welcome back to another RC. So today's RC is on business and economics genre. So let's quickly go through the RC. We've also given this to you as a test. If you want to attempt this as a test, you can go to www.thegurukul.org.in and sign up to the 100 days free CAT course so that you get this as a test. Again, I'm repeating, this is a free thing. Don't worry about payments at all. So quickly pause the video here, read the first paragraph, and then we'll move forward. Come on. This is the second paragraph. Pause the video here, and then we'll move forward to the third paragraph. Okay, third paragraph, shorter paragraph. Pause the video. All right, fourth paragraph. Please pause the video. I'm hoping you've read this. So, this is your question number 1. Now that you've read all the 4 paragraphs, pause the video, take 2 minutes, answer this question. Question number 2. Again, take 2 minutes, pause the video here, answer the question. Question number 3. Pause the video here, take 2 minutes, and answer the question. Question number 4, the last question of this passage. Pause the video here, take 2 minutes, and answer this. Now, don't forget to watch this video till the end to make sure that you get to know if all your answers are correct and especially which of the answers are correct at least. Okay, let's get into the solution. Right, now that all of you have read the passage, let's quickly understand what this passage is talking about. The heightened competition within today's business climate has forced organizations to re-examine the assumptions of traditional theories of organizational structure and operation. That means because of a lot of competition, now the organizations that are there right now, they have to re-examine, they have to reconsider all the assumptions that they've had, all the policies they've been following, okay, or the traditional theories they've been following for maintaining the structure and their operations. Okay, established formulas for decision making have become less applicable because these formulas were based on principles promoting and reflecting the stability of a prior era. So all these formulae that they've been using to maintain the organizational structure are now outdated. That's what they're talking about. Traditional procedure for routinizing problem-solving process through the use of hierarchical and bureaucratic systems are being challenged and shown to be inefficient. What does that mean? Okay, whatever processes that you were using to make a routine for your employees, to make the work a routine for your employees is kind of the problem now, is kind of the issue right now. That's why the challenge is being faced by current organizations, because these things, these processes, these routines are now being shown as ineffective, right? Often these shortcomings stem from the failure of older theories to incorporate flexibility and adaptability required by organizations in the current era, in which shifting international markets and new products, technologies and ideas are constantly transforming industries. So now everything is so fast paced, everything is changing so fast. Okay, that these old theories and all, they have a shortcoming. What is that shortcoming? They do not have the flexibility and adaptability that is required by the organizations. They're not very flexible. They're very rigid in their outlook, right? Okay. Given these challenges faced by today's organizations, the relevance of creativity to problem solving, decision making, and research and development is clear. That means creativity is very clear for problem solving, decision making, research and development. Okay, to remain competitive, businesses can no longer follow time-tested formulas of the precedent. They must be able to produce and be receptive to innovation, which is synonymous here with creativity in an organizational context. So here he's directly saying that innovation and creativity are one and the same, right? right? So innovation and creativity are one and the same. Now, to remain competitive, the organizations must make sure that they are creative, they are innovative, and they're adapting to different problems of this era. So the second paragraph, how can research on the nature of organizations help us to understand organizational influences upon creativity? Right. So how can research on the organizations or nature of organization, what type of organization it is, help us to understand the different influences that that organization or the nature has on creativity? Consider first traditional models of organizational structure and behavior. So first, let's look at the older models, right? These models responded to the uncertainty in organizational environments and interpersonal relationships by emphasizing rational thinking and decision making. Okay, so what did they do? They took the uncertainty. Okay, so uncertainty in the organizational environments and interpersonal relationships, the relationships between the employees, by emphasizing rational thinking and decision making. So they were thinking about how logical the thought is. In these models, the goal of organization is reducing uncertainty and supplanting with routine. So they wanted to reduce the uncertainty and they wanted to what? Extend it. Okay. Or they wanted to add to it with routine. So they just wanted to support it with routine. Okay. Consequently, procedures and regulations designed to maximize predictability and order have been seen as positive influence on organizations. So that time, because they wanted to routinize things, all these procedures and regulations which were trying to maximize the predictability. Okay, that if you do this, this will happen. Such kind of a thing was seen as positive influences. Roles within organizations are strictly defined according to specific functions and jurisdictions in order to avoid overlap. That means what? Each role, each person was given a certain task, and that task was not going to coincide with anyone else's task. Okay, in that way, everyone had their own respective boundaries, right? Yes. Hierarchies are established to ensure the accountability of each worker to a supervisor who has a better sense of the bigger picture of the workings of the organizations and who understands how to utilize the workers' abilities to the fullest to further the interest of organizational goals. So now again, hierarchies were created, levels were created. Okay, and why were these levels created? Because the people at the top level understood the big picture, the organizational perspective, and they would tell their subordinates, okay, in the beneath levels, that you have to do these tasks. So the lower level people would just do the tasks, and the higher level people would think about how best to use all these lower level peoples to get the organizational goals met. Okay. In general, traditional organizational views see the effective use of control as the way to get most out of an organization. However, the traditional concepts of organization that so heavily emphasize control have had the effect of minimizing employee creativity. So initially, all these organizations, they saw the use of control, they saw the use of hierarchies as the best way to get the job done. But getting this job done is coming at the cost of an employee's creativity. Okay, I hope we've understood till here. Let's move to the next paragraph. What was the origin of these traditional views of organizations and their optimal functioning? An important early influence on thinking about the optimal structure of organizations was the work of Adam Smith, who in 1776 revolutionized productivity by proposing the concept of division of labor. So there was this guy called as Adam Smith, who in 1776 gave a concept called as division of labor. For us today, division of labor is a very common thing. But that time it was a revolutionary concept. Why? Because it boosted productivity. Okay. Now, division of labors, which is so familiar to us today, exactly that's what he's trying to tell us to us today, that it can be easy to forget that it was once a revolutionary idea. Division of labor increased work output by assigning specific roles to each employee instead of having each worker complete an entire complex task, which had been the norm before Smith. That means before Smith came, every employee used to do the entire task. Okay. Now, what did Smith say? Smith said that some people are good at certain tasks, others are not. So let me give that task only to the person who's good at it, right? So he divided the tasks so that a person who's good at a particular task will do that task instead of the entire complex task, right? By concentrating all the efforts of a single worker on one aspect of the task, the time that would have been lost in swimming from task to task was saved. So the time that was taken to go from one task to other, that was saved. Now that person would keep doing the same task again and again and again and again. Okay. Work has benefited by developing specialized experience and knowledge which enabled them to gain dexterity in their assigned tasks and consequently become more productive. So what happened? These workers also, they gained, very specific knowledge, very specific experience in that particular task, which made them gain dexterity. That means gain extra skill. Okay, in their assigned task. And obviously, if you gain a lot of skill in one task, you become more productive, right? Now let's go to the next paragraph. Many years later, Smith's early thinking on restructuring the organization was complemented by Weber. That means Weber added to what Smith had told about restructuring an organization. So Weber, whose classic conceptualization of bureaucracy laid the foundation for traditional organizational theories, Weber characterized the functioning of an organizational machine as guided by principles of fixed and jurisdictional areas, generally ordered by rules, laws, and administrative regulations. What does that mean? Weber now came with an official model of organizations, okay, wherein definitely there are certain rules, there are certain norms, and there are certain jurisdictions, boundaries where people can operate. Okay, these are the things that make an organization, is what he has said. Work roles were strictly defined and a system of levels of graded authority operated to ensure supervision of the lower officers by the higher ones. So this is where the hierarchy system has come up. The regulation and control of all relationships was impersonal and was reduced to a set of prior established rules. So they've taken off personal feelings and personal things from the way people conducted themselves at the office. Everything was reduced to a rule. Okay. In Weber's conceptualization, an official of the bureaucracy should be devoted to impersonal and functional purposes. In return for the security of a lifelong tenure, a fixed salary, and an expected old age pension. What does that mean? So this guy, whoever the employee is, he should work very impersonally. He should not connect with others very personally. He should be very purposeful in his working. He should only focus on the organization's goals and gains, profits. And what will he get in return? He'll get a lifelong tenure. That means he gets to work in that company forever. Well, as long as he lives. And then he'll get a fixed salary. And obviously, in the old age, he'll get a pension. The career of a bureaucrat generally followed the hierarchical order of upward movement from lower to higher positions, and this movement was usually based on seniority. So as and when you gain experience in an organization, you go to the next level, That way, from lower to higher, you keep moving on the basis of your seniority alone. Okay. Thus, Weber elaborated upon the work of Smith. Again, he's saying Weber added to the work of Smith by defining the optimal organization as a highly controlled, rigid, hierarchical environment in which each worker knew his or her place and performed clearly defined and explicitly assigned duties. That means you will do what is asked by the organization and you will do only as much as asked by the organization. That's the kind of a organizational structure that Weber had developed. Once again, it's clear that this traditional view of organizations, which still describes the structure and functioning of many organizations today, depicts an environment of inhospitability for the expression of creativity. That means this kind of an environment, which is still followed in the culture, in the companies today, is still promoting a culture which does not give rise to creativity. Okay? So I hope all of you have understood the passage very clearly. Now let's move into the questions. The first question says inadvertently, which means indirectly. Right? So indirectly, Smith and Weber contributed to what? So again, please ensure that you're understanding this correctly. He's not asking you directly what did Smith and Weber contribute to. He's asking you indirectly what did they contribute to. Okay? So let's start reading from the bottom. The incompatibility that exists between the stress on an organizational roles and employee creativity. Okay, yes. They have contributed kind of to, the stress that's there on the organizational role and employee creativity. But nowhere in the passage has it been mentioned that only because of the stress on organizational roles, employee creativity is coming down. Right? So although this is a very tempting answer, this will not be our correct answer. Third one, the hierarchical character of organization with upward movement from lower to higher position. They directly did this. Okay, so this is not an indirect thing. So definitely not going to be our answer. Second one, the increased productivity of employees through their contributions to the tasks of specialization. Now, obviously, the productivity of employees has increased. Again, why? Because of task specialization. So this was direct. Okay, this was what Weber did. So not going to be the answer. Many of the structural obstacles that can smother creativity, that means kill creativity in an organizational. Yes, they have created structural obstacles which will kill creativity, but they didn't directly aim to kill creativity, correct? So this will be our correct answer. Okay, now that we're done with this question, let's go to the second question. Which of the following is true in an organizational context? मतलब एक organization के context में क्या चीज सही है? The degree of control and the level of creativity are directly proportional. Okay, so what does this mean? If the degree of control increases, does the level of creativity increase? Obviously no, right? So first one is not the correct answer. Innovation and creativity are synonymous. Now see, he has directly given this. Okay, and when he has directly given this, he's not told us that innovation and creativity are synonymous, but that for creativity to be there, innovation is required. Okay, or in the other way around, for innovation to be present, creativity is required. He didn't say that innovation and creativity are same. Please try to understand this. He never said that innovation and creativity are same. He said that for innovation to be there, creativity is a definite. So this also is not the answer. It sounds very tempting, and that's how CAT questions are. But this is not the answer. The more rigid the hierarchical structures of a firm, the more clearly defined the roles of its employees. What does that mean? The more levels there are, the employees in each level will have specific tasks, and this is what he has said. So this will be the correct answer. Correct? Now, fourth one, the degree of impersonality of organizational rules determines the level of innovation of employees. Again, if you're very impersonal, how impersonal you are does not determine the level of innovation, right? These two are nowhere correlated according to the passage, correct? So that is why this also will not be a correct answer. So the right answer will be third option. I hope we are all clear. Let's move on to the third question. In light of Smith's concept of division of labor, Weber's bureaucratic structures of an organization can be said to be. What does that mean? Okay, I have Smith's division of labor and then Weber's bureaucratic constructions. Okay, so I have these two things. What is this doing to the first one? Yes. Now think about it once. From our reading of the passage, we clearly understand that Weber's conceptions are nothing but adding or complementing Smith's conceptions. Right? Weber की जो सोच है वो स्मिथ की सोच के ऊपर बनी हुई है. Right? So fundamental and elementary in nature, no. Weber's conceptions were very much complex and they were layered in nature. उनमें अलग अलग लेयर्स के बारे में थे. इतना तो कुछ सिंपल था नहीं उसमें, एलिमेंट्री तो था नहीं. Path breaking because of its additional advantages when compared to Smith's organizational structure. नहीं, दोनों में तो same advantages थी. Right? दोनों में तो hierarchical nature था, दोनों में तो layered structures थे. Yes, so it was not path breaking in anything. Okay, against that propounded by Smith, यानी कि Smith ने जो कहा है उसके against था, ऐसा तो कुछ था नहीं उसमें. Right? दोनों तो similar थे, एक के ऊपर एक था. So obviously not even the third one. Then the fourth one, an extension of what is said in Smith theory. Yes, Smith ने जो कहा उसको extend किया जा रहा है, उसको और भी बढ़ावा दिया जा रहा है. That is what is happening in the passage. So the correct answer will be 4. Okay. Now let's go to the last question of this set. The organizational environment proposed by Smith and Weber nurtures. तो इन्होंने जो बनाया है, the organizational environment that has come from Smith and Weber, what does it nurture? Okay, nurture मतलब what does it support? What does it encourage? Right? Does it encourage creativity? No. The whole passage is saying that these kind of structures remove creativity. They do not encourage creativity. Correct? Lateral thinking. Again, lateral thinking के बारे में तो बात ही नहीं किया है passage में. No one has ever spoken about lateral thinking in the passage. Established patterns of thinking. Yes. मेरे को यही करना है. मेरे को इतना तक ही करना है. I just need to do this much. That is the kind of thinking that's being developed, right? So 3 can be a possible answer. Rigid territorial structure of labor. Again, yes, I agree that Smith ने जो propose किया and Weber ने जो propose किया, there are bureaucratic forms where there is jurisdiction. Okay, but to say that it is a very rigid territorial structure of labor is wrong. Okay. Maybe if he had said roles, this could be a possible answer. So the only correct answer right now is 3.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.